Hi there, and welcome back to the FFS podcast. Welcome back to the MWF series. This is episode number 8. Yeah, episode number 8 of the MWF series season 2. And today we're going to be talking about the North London Derby, but not in the Premier League. We're looking here at the WSL, or the Women's Super League, and not the World Surfboard League, as Google keeps telling me time and time again when I type WSL. But yeah, it is the Women's Super League, and we're going to be talking about it with an Arsenal fan and a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Coincidentally, or I guess not coincidentally, it's the two same guests that we've had in season 1 when we discussed the NLD in the WSL. We've got Harsh, who is probably the only Spurs women's supporter that I know of. So he's back again here. And he's also been on the podcast talking about Spurs men's team, reviewing the men's games as well. And next we've got Unnati, who is an Arsenal supporter. Had her on the podcast multiple times. I think we've done a couple of draw reaction videos as well, which you can go check it out on YouTube. It's available to everyone. Those were pretty fun, and I'm glad we could have her back on here reviewing this all-important NLD. So I suppose, Unnati and Harsh, let's sort of rewind the clock back 2 hours after the final whistle was blown. 2 hours before the final whistle was blown. And this is, the team buses arriving at the stadium. The team sheets are out. And I just want to know how are you feeling? Obviously, Arsenal, top of the table, Spurs in the Champions League places. And I just want to know how confident were both of you going into this North London derby? And Unnati, let's start with you. So, you were flying high after last season with the change of coach and everything. So how confident were you going into this game?
Actually, if you say we were confident enough, because given that we had played them twice already in the season, we were hoping that we would win, but I guess we did. We did not.
Yeah, I know, but like going in though, you were riding high. I think top of the table, even higher than Chelsea, who everyone probably picked as favorites given what they done last year. But like in a game like this, does like form go out of the window for you?
I think you have to kind of, in that perspective, you have to kind of look at the kind of schedule the team has had with Champions League games. Like we just played on Wednesday, and then again a game on Thursday. Then again last week we had a game. So these games that we're playing in constantly it's kind of obviously the players get tired, they're exhausted. So maybe not from a physical perspective, but also mentally because of all the traveling that they've been doing like continuously. So I think that has kind of like you can see it's kind of affecting them right now. But I mean, it's a game. You have to get used to it.
I mean, it's a game. I think that should be the banner of every football game out there. But Harsh, the same question goes to you. How confident were you going in? Because Spurs, we rewind the clock at probably a year ago, and when we had this conversation, it wasn't the best of times to be a Spurs women's supporter, let alone be a Spurs supporter as a whole. But here we are, and you guys are in the Champions League spot for now. But how confident were you going into this game?
So, I mean, I don't think I was confident. So, I mean, any Arsenal game I mean, you go into any Arsenal game, any Arsenal game in the women's side, you go in thinking, okay, you'll be getting thrashed. So that was the mindset before the game. But there was a sense of hope based on how our season has been going. There was a sense of hope even in the FA Cup clash that we had against Arsenal, but that vanished away quite quickly. I mean, we scored an early goal in that game, and I think we scored a bit too early for our liking, and probably that was the reason why we got thrashed 5-1. Was it 5-1 or 6-1? 5-1, I think, at the end.
5-1.
So that there was a glimmer. Yeah, 5-1. There was a glimmer of hope going in that maybe we will at least we won't be getting thrashed. That was the only hope that I had. But the way that our WSL season has been going, I think based on that, there was a sense of hope that we all had. We have got a win against City, and we've got a draw last week against United. So we were going in strong, but that's how it is against Arsenal. And I don't think any of the Tottenham Hotspur women supporters who are thinking that at the end we'll make a point, and at, we'll talk about it later anyway. But the draw was kind of a bittersweet moment because the way we played throughout the 90 minutes, we were thinking, okay, we should have won. But anyway, we take the draw with both hands and move on.
Okay, so let's talk about the game, right? So you spoke about the FA Cup draw, and you kind of had the early goal there, and early goals, I know in any sort of game, it's not a pleasant sight. Like even when we score an early goal, I'm like, oh shit, this is too early. I can't. You can't bear, just like you can't help but think that at some point in time the other team's going to score. So if you score early, you may very well make sure that you score 2-3 quickly on the trot before you let the other team have chances. But in this game, it wasn't an early goal, but it was the first goal in the match. And I just want to know, Harsh, your thoughts on it. Like how did you feel when the goal went in?
Yeah, so I think in the first half our chances were very limited. We kind of kept Arsenal at bay. I mean, they had an early chance, I think, at the very start. I think 40-50 seconds into the game, I think Mead had a very good chance, and they hit the post as well in the first half. But from the second half onwards, I think we were slowly growing into the game and getting into their box, into the near their box more than what we did in the first half. So we were slowly getting not exactly getting the momentum behind us, but we were slightly getting more and more into their box and kind of threatening them on the counter situations. And the goal was a resultant of those one of those counter attack situations, and kind of changed the whole complexion of the match. I think I remember before when the second half started, around the 50th minute or so, Mead again had a very clear cut chance, and she hit Coppola directly with a I think shot from 5 to 6 yards. And post that, around 49 minutes, I think that chance landed around the 49th or 50th minute. And post that, I think we had not the great chances, but we had a couple of decent runs into their box and decent shots on target. So I think there was a sense of momentum change from there onwards, around the 50th minute onwards, and we kind of limited Arsenal into creating subpar chances till when Midema scored in the 90th minute.
Awesome. And Unnati, I think when the goal went in, and I mean, I don't know how frustrated you must have felt, because it was one of the most scruffiest goals I've ever seen. Like the keeper made a couple of really good saves, and then it just sort of they pushed it into the goal rather than actually doing much. So it just kept bouncing off everyone, and then the final sort of just get into the ball, get inside the net. So yeah, what were your thoughts when you saw
the goal itself, yeah, very frustrating. But you could see, like, when you compare the first half to the second half, first half there was so many chances. We were creating so many chances. Like Harsh said, in the very first minute, Beth Mead had a great opportunity. Then there was this one free kick that Beth had, where it just literally was, I think, maybe a few centimeters away from going in. Because I'll tell you what, I was celebrating and I did not even it looked like it almost went in, and then I was celebrating and I was like, oh shit, it didn't go in. So that was my reaction instantly. Then there was another Katie McCabe shot where it didn't go in. It was just hit the post again. So first half, even though we had like a lot of chances, we created so many chances, we didn't really capitalize on any of those. And I think that's where we lost all of our points in that perspective. Second half, usually Jonas is someone who, as we've seen in the past, he's someone, if something's not working out, he would immediately start changing his tactics, start substituting a few players, and see if it works out. I was fairly surprised by the kind of changes he made, and at the times at which he made those changes. Because if you see, the goal was actually kind of a result of like I said earlier, these games and these schedules that we have currently is not allowing many of the players to get any rest. So again, it felt like, if you notice, Leah Williamson and Beth Mead had clear cut opportunities to maybe stop the ball. Even Noel Maritz, for the matter, they had the chance to stop the ball, but they weren't able to. And then Lotta Wubben-Moy was just standing there, and there was this 1 second maybe where she had, the ball was at her feet and she had the opportunity to kick it away, and she wasn't able to because she froze. And obviously it's something like, she's a player, she's a human, you can't blame her for it. But then it's those chances where you could have not allowed the ball to go in, but it went in. Everyone was upset. But then post that, it was like for that 10 minutes after that goal, literally, I think within a few minutes, Spurs had another chance where Zadorsky was actually, she pushed the ball into the box again, where Ashley Neville actually missed a clear-cut chance. It was a sitter, basically. The ball went high, couldn't do anything. But then, so those 10 minutes, it almost felt like the players were losing all sorts of hope. They were all over the place. It was a mess to watch, to the point where I think I was so frustrated I did not want to watch the match anymore. But after that,
I mean,
then,
no, but I just want to, before you end off and before I forget what I wanted to talk about, the part you said about it being probably down to fatigue, like, do you think the lack of clinical edge and the lack of sort of, like you mentioned, that part before they scored the goal, it was reactionary when I think who had the ball at the end?
Lotta Wubben-Moy.
Yeah. So it was reactionary, and at times, it just suddenly falls at your feet. You're like, oh shit, what do I do? And by that time, the Spurs women, they already scored that. But I just wanted to know how, like, this, like, is there no, I mean, do you think he should have rotated more given the Champions League fixture and this, or is there no squad depth? Like, what is the situation there?
So see, I'll tell you what, he's rotated well. I am not going to deny that he has rotated well. But then if you look at two players, particularly Leah Williamson and Noel Maritz in the back, he hasn't really rotated them much. Like if you see throughout the entire team, like in the midfield, like, the forward lineup, he's constantly kept rotating everybody. But in the back, those two are the ones who have been constantly there. And you can see, like, the mistakes had actually come in from there. And towards the end, this is what I've heard of Twitter, that Leah Williamson actually was holding her hamstring and she was coming out. So she was basically limping out. So you can imagine that, she forced herself to finish the game so much that, she ultimately ended up maybe injuring herself. So previously, looking at the past that we've had a lot of issues with injuries in the previous seasons. But this season, I think everyone was happy. We have, new people in the medical squad and everything. So, we can see those changes. But, there's still a lot of changes that could have been made, because surprisingly, Mana Iwabuchi, she actually came in pretty late. She was subbed in pretty late, and that was a question I think everybody, who, like, every person who is an Arsenal fan had that question on Twitter yesterday, like, why was she not, on the pitch earlier? Why was she,
Right.
Maybe at the 80th minute or something? And that was too late. And the way the game was progressing, if you go to see, she thrives in that environment. Like sneakingly get the ball in, like through balls and everything. She's so good at playing that. But with that said, like you said, like, should he have rotated more? I was very happy when he, actually was giving Viv a vacation, like a small vacation, and he said, like, go and rest it out completely. We didn't have her for the game against Brighton. But, I was very happy because of that, you could see that, she played till the very end. She didn't have to be subbed out earlier. And because of that, we were able to get that equalizer. So, yeah, like in certain instances, Jonas has said in the previous interviews as well that he plans on giving players, especially from the ones who were playing at the Olympics, some rest of sorts. But I think the back line is where really we need some time with it, and we need some progress as well with it, because certainly there are things that are not working out with that back line right now.
Awesome. Perfect. Harsh, talking about what Unnati mentioned, after the goal, you did have a couple of chances. Was that Spurs' way of saying, we're not going to try and make the same mistake that we had in the in the FA Cup, where if we get the early goal, we probably let them come on. Let's try and get as many goals as possible as early as if you're in a good form, and Arsenal have just probably been shell shocked because they probably didn't expect Spurs to score, and so let's try and hit them when they're down. So is that something that you think was the case?
Yeah, I think the way we were playing in the second half, it was mainly off of Kid Graham and Rachel Williams. So I mean, I can't praise Rachel Williams enough. The way she was holding the ball up all alone and then waiting for Kid Graham or Ubagagu and others to come in, it was really immense. I mean, if you see, both our attacks were, I think the second one, the Ashley Neville chance, I think that came off of a corner and not from directly from an open play. But I think the initial goal that we scored was kind of from an open play. I mean, it's tough to recall. So what my point is basically, both the chances, the goal and the chance that Neville missed, the ball went into the left side of the box and there was a knockdown to the right side and the chance came to the player on the right side. So we were kind of playing, having some decent chances on the counters, playing some patterns, waiting for the runners. And so, yeah, I think the positive mindset was there that we don't have to sit back and just guard our goal after scoring one. And I think they did learn from the FA Cup game as well. But I think it was mainly because how the players were at that moment in their minds. They were really up and they were really gunning to go and get another goal.
Hey, gunning to go, Gunners. Yeah. No, I don't. I'm pretty sure you didn't meet that, but yeah, nice one. All right, and Unnati, for obviously the equalizer came in in the 92nd minute, but until that time, were you thinking this could actually be Spurs' game? We don't seem to have the the finishing touches, let's say, for this particular game.
No offense, Harsh, but I was not ready to lose against Spurs.
I don't think
no,
anybody. I don't think anybody is ready, men's or women's. This is
no, but it's a North London derby. You cannot expect us to lose to Spurs. No.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, I'd say something before I talk about our touches. Capella was amazing. Okay, as a goalkeeper, I don't think I've seen her doing she had a great game. Okay, and I think the goalpost also kind of saved her a bit. No, but in all seriousness, though, yeah. But I'll tell you something. This was, if you notice these previous games, I'm glad we kind of drawed, because what happened in these past games is that we've been just overlooking the drawbacks that we are facing and all the problems that we are having playing the game. Because we constantly are winning, 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals, and nobody is noticing what's happening in the back, what's going wrong. And if you see, in all the previous games as well, what's the point of creating these many chances if you're not able to capitalize on it? Because in the previous games as well, it's like we've had so many goals on target, but only a few of them have gone in as goals. So even though you have that many shots, on target, you don't seem to have those many goals. So again, this was one of those cases where we created so much, we had so many shots on target, so many shots taken, but none of them seemingly went in except for one. So that's again something that you have to think of. And then you also have to think of about the fact that what's going wrong in defense, because I think that's the weakest point right now. You have those many attacking players, but what's happening in the back? That's where see, we've won the game against City and Chelsea, but City and Chelsea are going to come back strong. You never know. We still have another fixture left with them, so it's like you don't know how they are going to react. And Chelsea next time, I mean, we have those FA Cup final right now, so that's a different case. Let's keep that on the side. But the reverse fixture that we're going to have away at Kingsmeadow, you really think Chelsea at home is not going to want to thrash you for that insult that they had?
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
you have to kind of sort it out, because I think the one game where we could see the clear-cut problems we were having was that game against Barcelona, because that was that one game where you were literally like, what the hell are we doing? It actually it actually looked like we were one of those, the the table end teams, you know. It
Yeah.
really looked like that because they were that dominant, and you could clearly see the kind of problems that we were facing. And I agree with you. Like, you know, Jonas has just come in. We need some time to, you know, kind of adjust and get tactics right. Let him change things and everything. But it seemingly looks so bad. Like I was per se very excited for that game, and I was like, what the hell is this?
And also, I mean, the fact that you mentioned that the conversion rate isn't that great, it puts more pressure on the back line because you know your forwards are good, but they're not able to finish it. And you need to then defend those score lines as even if it's a 1-0 or a 2-0. So if you aren't defensively strong enough, you know, those 1 or 2 goals you'd easily concede at the back. So it's not like you're going to outscore opponents, is what I'm saying. So
No, but then, you know, the one thing that also happens is basically that, you know, counter attacks become very difficult to, you know, get used to, because if you are actually pushing your ball forward and then, you know, the ball comes back, it's a huge counter attack, and then, you know, the entire defense is ahead. Like,
yeah.
for them to push back again, you know, if you're not strong, like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. If you're not strong enough to, you know, at the back,
Yeah.
then counter attacks are going to be very easy for teams.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
we've
that's
solved one problem, but then we still have so many other problems that we still need to solve, and obviously that's going to take time. And I feel like, you know, this has happened right now, is that everyone seemingly is so impressed with Arsenal right now. Everyone has that thing where, oh, you know what, they are going to win, they're going to win, and we've started basically forgetting about all the problems. They are being disguised now.
yeah.
And this draw was very important because now everyone knows that, you know, we have problems, we need to focus on those problems, and let's work on them instead of, you know, actually just thinking about the wins that we've had.
Yeah. No, I get that, and a good start in a league is great. I mean, I'm not denying it's not good, but I sometimes feel like a second half like is the more important part. It's not. It's how you finish rather than how you start. In a way, sure, the great start. If you continue, then you'd say the start helped you build that momentum. But if second half goes down, then you're like, what's the first half done? Like it's of no use. You've got to only a certain amount. But
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, last season we had a great start. First game against
yeah,
Reading, then second game against West Ham, what, 6-1, 4-1. We were like constantly, you know, scoring goals and everything. And then you think about the way we ended.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
shell shock.
That January period, the injuries and the game schedules and all that. Yeah, I could totally get it. Harsh, let me ask you what. Okay, so before that, I mean, when I saw the Miramar goal, I kind of small flashbacks to I think a year ago where again she scored off the corner. That was a brilliant goal. This was a simple header. That was the biggest contrast from that. But Harsh, like Spurs still remain in the hunt for the Champions League places. City will be playing Chelsea. So I mean, in terms of like the biggest rivals coming in hunting you down for that, City's not got to the best of starts. But how confident are you with Spurs that they can continue in their form and eventually get that Champions League place? Because that's a huge sort of achievement for Spurs, given where they were a year ago to get that Champions League spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not completely focusing on the Champions League spot. So, I mean, let's see what happens in the second half of the season. As you already said, things can change drastically. But so the important thing that we have in our favor is that we've got one big game per week, so we don't have to focus much on the other games as per. So we've got a County Cup game this week. I think Ryan Skinner would probably be rotating a lot in that, and we've got some squad depth this season. So the signings that we made this season were Ubogagu and Molly Bartrip at the back. So these two have Ubogagu not so much, but Molly Bartrip has featured a lot and is the starter along with Zardowski. So those two, I think, have been the building block for us, keeping a solid defense at the back, and have got us to play. I mean, the only game we lost in the WSL this season was against Brighton, and I think the way I went into the game was, okay, the way that we have been performing in the previous games, that has to be a win. If not a win, that was should have been a draw. But we conceded on a set piece in that game as well. So I mean, I think there's a video going around on Twitter of an interview of Rachel Williams where she says that that's one of the areas that they have been looking, and they'll be looking to remove the set piece goals that we're conceding in many games now. And I mean, that video was kind of a reflective of the performance that we had on that day, and the performances that we have been having in this whole season. I think the players have really catched on to what Skinner wants from them, and they believe in her, most importantly, and they are willing to run for her as much as they have to. And in that video that I'm referring to, you can check it out on Twitter, on the Spurs Women feed. She says that if this game goes on till 120th minute, the Arsenal game, even then they'll continue to run no matter what. So they have a sense of responsibility for the club, kind of, and they have belief in the way that Skinner wants them to play. So I think the unity would take us so far, but at the end, if we continue to get some help from the bench like we have been in the previous game, so Rosella Ayan has been chipping in from the bench, and we have been getting help from Angela Addison as well. So the squad this season is way better than the last season, I would say. And there was star power last season, but I mean, in terms of Morgan, but this season I think we've got not star power, so as to say, but we've got lots of players who can chip in. So the Champions League, I'm still not thinking of it as of now. There are lots of games to go, but no matter where we finish, there has been a clear progress this season compared to where we were last season. I mean, hell, we haven't even got a point against Arsenal in our history, so we got that, and we were that close to getting a win. So there's clearly an upward trend of this team, and there are only better days coming.
I found my quote for the thumbnail. Great.
I mean, if you ask me what, based on what Harsh said, I think it only shows that the league is progressing in the right direction, because for the first time, like in a North London derby actually felt like a North London derby in the women's game, because otherwise it's always one-sided and you're like, oh, Arsenal is gonna win. But like really, I'll say props to Rian Skinner for actually making the team so good, because like Arsenal fan or not, you have to accept that they played well. You have
okay. Yeah, no, I get that, and I do agree. I think yesterday I wasn't watching the game, but when I checked the score and it was Spurs 1, I was like, oh, okay. I had to quickly go on Twitter to see if anyone had like started a meltdown or something. Arsenal Twitter had started.
Didn't you see my tweets? I was having a meltdown.
Yeah,
but
I did.
Yeah. No, but I'll tell you something. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No,
but
that's
I'll
fine.
tell you something. Because if I don't say this, I think every gunner out there is just going to kill me. Is the fact that the referee,
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. There was this one clear chance where Jordan Nobbs was actually scoring, and Ashley Neville kind of fouled Beth Mead, and that referee does not understand the meaning of advantage, and she literally stopped the game, and Jordan had the goal in in the ball was in the back of the net, and she blew her whistle and she was like no, and I think in that case Ashley Neville was happy getting that yellow card, because that meant the goal didn't go in. And I am telling you, everyone was so upset yesterday. I don't think there's one person on Twitter yesterday I did not see who was not talking about the referee, because she was. I shouldn't say things.
No, I because I was watching the highlights or something on YouTube, the full game on YouTube, and one of the comments was ref, and then the timestamp. So I was like, okay, something must have happened there.
No, because I'll tell you something. Throughout the game, there were so many fouls that were there, and there were chances that if she was not taking in, and there were incidences where she was calling the foul late, or sometimes she was not even calling them out. And then the one foul that could have gone as an advantage, she just called it out, and she was like, no way.
Looks like someone else had a mental fatigue.
No, I mean, no offense against Harsh, but everyone was like, the referee, instead of the black t-shirt, she could have just worn her Spurs kit, and she could have just run around everywhere. No, because it seemingly felt like that, because it was kind of annoying, because if you notice, we could have gotten that as a goal, and Then if we would have had Viv as another goal, then that would have, seemingly changed the whole game again. But then again, that is not the first game we are facing referee issues. Not seemingly just for Arsenal games. This has happened throughout the WSL seasons. So if we want to make this league a better league and the best in the world, as they like to call it, you have to make certain changes, and the referee is literally the first thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the Premier League's been having this issue for a long time and still considered one of the best leagues. I get it. I do get it. I mean, there definitely has to be, even in the Premier League, even the WSL, I mean, referee standards need to go up. But the one thing I do say about referee decisions is that it's almost like karma in a way. Like, so if you get bad decisions now, maybe next year or maybe in the second half you get the good decision. It's always sort of evens itself out.
I can agree with every gunner on this, is that I don't think Arsenal in the Premier League have had the liberty to enjoy that happening in the second season or the next season, as you're saying right now. And this actually kind of puts us level with that Chelsea offside goal by Beth Mead. I think we've been hearing too much about it, so now we are level, basically. You can't say you can't use that against us.
Awesome. All right, great. So I guess that's all the time we have for this particular review. So thank you, Unnati and Harsh, for coming on to this podcast, giving your thoughts on this. It was a pleasure having you on here and a great review talking about this game. Hopefully we can have you back for the return leg fixture whenever that is. I guess second half of the season. We probably have a clearer idea of where these teams stand by then. But until then, thank you for coming on here, giving your thoughts on this game, and I can't wait to host you in the near future.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I know I'm going to be back somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. With some draw, the other I'm sure later on. But yeah, so thank you to those of you listening to this entire podcast. If you are listening to this on various podcast platforms like Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, then do follow us on those platforms. You can also check out the entire video if you are a member or a patron of this podcast. I do recommend you go check that out. The links are in the description. Go check out our patron page. I know it probably you have to pay a little more for this type of content, but it probably helps the channel as well, helps me get better equipment, all of that stuff. And yeah, the video is actually available for all members. So whether in the lowest tier or the highest tier, you get all of that. But you can go check out. There are so many more benefits, early access. You get your own solo bonus episode that you want to do. You get to have veto power on any sort of poll that we do. All of that, go check it out. It's really, really interesting. And yeah, I'll catch you all on episode 9. I'm quickly losing track, but it's hardly been episode 8. But yeah, I'll catch you all next week where we'll be reviewing another game from the weekend. I guess that's about it for episode number 8 of the MWF series season 2. I'm your host, Brady, once again. You stay safe and see you.